Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're not just dipping our toes. We're plunging headfirst into the vast, turbulent, and frankly, utterly fascinating tapestry of human history.
Yeah, it's quite a journey we're setting out on, not just one moment, but this huge sweep.
Exactly. We're embarking on an epic journey, not into a single isolated event, but through the sweeping saga of civilizations. Think, from the very first whispers of humanity on Earth, all the way to the thunderous hoofbeats of the Mongol Empire.
It's an immense scope for this deep dive, for sure. And we've gathered a truly fascinating array of sources for you. We'll be navigating everything from, well, the ancient origins of human life,
Right.
through the dawn of cities and empires across the Middle East, Asia, Mesoamerica, and then into the really significant transformations of the early medieval period, Europe and beyond.
Our mission today is to extract the most pivotal insights and, honestly, some truly surprising facts from this incredible span of time. We want to offer you a shortcut, a way to understand how these ancient and formative societies didn't just exist in isolation, but profoundly shaped the very world we inhabit right now. The goal is to provide context that's both deeply profound and, hopefully, perfectly digestible. We want you walking away feeling well-informed, not overwhelmed by the sheer volume of it all.
Absolutely. And get ready, because we're planning to uncover some enduring historical mysticals. We're talking ancient prophecies that turned out to be uncannily accurate, radical rulers who just completely rewrote the rules of empire.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah. We'll even explore the surprising functions of human sacrifice in some ancient societies. Quite grim, but fascinating. And marvel at the uncanny accuracy of certain ancient Greek historians millennia before modern science.
It's truly incredible, isn't it, how the past, even from so long ago, continues to whisper its secrets to us. It just invites us to listen more closely.
It really does.
The first footprints and cradle of civilizations.
All right, let's unpack this grand journey, beginning, at the beginning, the very genesis of our story, the first footprints of humanity and what we've come to call the cradles of civilization.
So when we talk about history, we usually mean everything after people started writing things down. That's a key distinction.
Right, because before that, there's this enormous unwritten past stretching back, hundreds of thousands of years. It's incredibly challenging to grasp that prehistory, mainly because we lack those direct contemporary written records.
Think about the massive gap, for instance, between the Omo and Hertu fossils, both found in Ethiopia, incredibly important finds. But there's a 35,000-year difference between them.
35,000 years. That colossal span just underscores how little we truly know about humanity's earliest ages. It's like staring into, an impenetrable curtain of time, knowing there's so much behind it we can't yet perceive.
It truly is a remarkable mystery. And what's fascinating here is an astounding historical puzzle involving a Greek author. His name was Diodorus Siculus, lived around 9030 BCE.
Okay.
Now get this. 2 millennia before carbon dating even existed, he asserted in his huge work, Bibliotheca Historica, that Ethiopia was the origin of humanity. He claimed they were the first of all men.
That's just wild. What was his reasoning?
Well, his reasoning was, let's say, creative. He observed things like the sun's warmth drying the earth and somehow impregnating it with life.
Okay, bit off there.
Yeah, concluding that those living beneath the noonday sun were, in all likelihood, the first to be generated by the earth. Now, his science was completely wrong. Ethiopia isn't closer to the sun or anything.
Right.
But his conclusion, which he sort of implies was common knowledge back then, was spot on. And we have absolutely no idea why.
So how? This incredible accuracy forces us to reconsider, the depth of ancient oral traditions. It really challenges our modern assumptions about how truth was discovered before scientific tools.
Exactly. It whispers to us that history still holds secrets far beyond our conventional understanding, maybe passed down through generations in ways we can only speculate about.
It's a true historical enigma. Was it just a lucky guess? Or, as you suggest, an astonishingly well-preserved oral tradition, meticulously passed down through countless generations before any written record? Or maybe it was based on observing ancient ruins or cultural practices that have just vanished.
Vanished completely, leaving no trace for modern archaeologists. We may never know the definitive answer, and our sources really remind us that history is, indeed, full of these compelling, tantalizing mysteries.
So, humans started settling down, forming larger communities, and the very concept of a city emerged. But even that isn't as straightforward as it sounds for historians, is it?
Not at all. There's a big debate. What exactly constitutes a city versus just a village? Take the Ohelo II Net settlement in Israel. It's 21,000 years old.
Wow.
And it checks a lot of boxes, People live there long term, they have permanent huts, there's strong evidence of agriculture, over 100 seed varieties found.
But it's usually called a village.
Generally, yes. Because its buildings weren't super durable, and the population was likely quite tiny, maybe only a few dozen people. The defining characteristic of a city, for historians, beyond just size, implies that long-term stability and the development of a distinctive, complex culture.
Okay, so things like specialized labor, public works, established governance.
Exactly. And by that definition, cities as we understand them have only existed for about 15,000 years. And for the vast majority of that time, almost all the thriving large-scale cities were concentrated in one specific region, that fertile hinge connecting Africa, Asia, and Europe, the place we call the Middle East.
And that brings us directly to the cradle of history itself, human civilization in Sumer and Akkad. This is where written history, the actual act of recording events and stories, truly began.
Yes, the mastery of agriculture was the absolute game changer. It fundamentally encouraged people to settle down instead of leading nomadic lives.
Right, makes sense.
Which led to greater population density and complex social structures. This new stability, in turn, spurred the development of permanent written records. Now, you could physically preserve stories, laws, agreements, not just rely on fragile oral traditions.
And Mesopotamia was perfectly suited for this.
Few regions were more naturally suited for early agriculture. Mesopotamia, that's Greek for between two rivers, referring to the Tigris and Euphrates, in what's now modern-day Iraq and Turkey.
And there, the people who called themselves the Sagiga, or black-headed people, found in Sumer. This was the world's earliest known civilization, right? A dynamic network of dozens of linked city-states.
Producing groundbreaking art, literature, architecture. Only Egypt really rivals it in sheer age and continuity.
But early on, these places faced huge challenges.
Absolutely. Practical existential challenges. Flooding was a constant threat from those mighty rivers. The city of Shiropak, for instance, suffered a major flood around 3100 BCE. It was so catastrophic that its story was retold for over 1,000 years,
Wow.
even inspiring the legendary Noah figure, Utnapishtim, in later Mesopotamian epics like Gilgamesh.
But it wasn't just nature. War was a constant threat, too.
Equally looming, yes. Our sources detailed the mysterious ruins of Hamakar, clearly a city that came under siege around 3500 BCE by what was described as the heaviest artillery available at the time.
Which was?
Clay slingshot pellets hardened in kilns. They apparently tore through its walls with devastating force. We still don't definitively know who invaded Hamakar or why or what happened to the attackers, but the archaeology tells a chilling story of a sudden, brutal conflict. It's a stark reminder of the constant dangers these early cities faced if they weren't ready for war.
So initially, Sumer wasn't one big empire.
No, it operated as a confederation of surprisingly self-sustaining city-states, a remarkably stable arrangement that lasted, get this, some 3,000 years.
3,000 years, that's longer than almost any empire that followed.
Far longer. This decentralized model really raises a crucial question. Was their loose confederation inherently more resilient? Or did specific historical conditions just allow it to outlast centralized empires? Maybe there are subtle lessons for governance even today.
But that loose structure eventually made them vulnerable.
Exactly. It left them vulnerable to the rising power of aspiring emperors. And that's where Sargon I of Akkad steps in, around 2334 BCE.
Okay.
He led a series of conquests that unified much of Mesopotamia, conquering Sumer, and marking a fundamental shift in political thinking. After Sargon, the dominant idea in Mesopotamia transformed from local autonomy to, essentially, peace through strength.
Akkad was the first real empire there.
The first true empire to rule the region, setting a new and enduring precedent for centuries, influencing how later rulers would consolidate power.
And from Sumer, we have the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Incredibly fortunate to have it. The world's oldest surviving epic poem, Gilgamesh was the national hero, the legendary king of Uruk. His quest for immortality, his adventures with Enkidu, his run-ins with the gods.
Amazing stories.
Yet they were reimagined and retold for centuries across Mesopotamia, much like our own evolving legends of King Arthur or Robin Hood. Just shows the enduring power of narrative.
Okay. From the fertile lands between the rivers, our journey now glides gracefully over to the Nile for the first half of Egypt's story. Children of the Nile. Egypt. It's not just old, it's the world's oldest surviving civilization, isn't it? Maintaining a distinct cultural identity for millennia.
It really is astounding. And while we know it for the awe-inspiring pyramids and colossal monuments, it was once a vibrant, diverse society just like Sumer, bustling with daily life, complex economics, and, yes, fierce warfare.
And like Sumer, it grew from river settlements along the Nile.
Exactly, strategically located along the life-giving river. Over time, these settlements coalesced into two distinct political entities. Lower Egypt, symbolized by the fierce hawk god Horus, and Upper Egypt, represented by the protective vulture goddess Nekhbet. Around 3000 BCE, a king named Menes is traditionally credited with unifying these two kingdoms. He became the first pharaoh to rule all of Egypt, establishing a dynastic tradition that would last for thousands of years.
The whole concept of the pharaoh is really complex to us today, often misunderstood. We see the opulent tombs, the immense wealth, and immediately think decadence or absolute power.
Right, but for the ancient Egyptians, pharaohs were considered far more than mere human rulers. They were seen as divine conduits, literally living bridges between the primal cosmic forces, the gods, and the people on Earth.
So all the elaborate trappings, the regalia, the grand palaces, the intricate rituals, they weren't just about luxury.
Not primarily. They were seen as absolutely necessary to maintain cosmic order, meant to avoid offending the gods, and to ensure continuous protection and prosperity for Egypt's mortals. It was a sacred duty.
And their unique, elaborate burial practices, mummification, how did that start?
It began quite practically, almost incidentally. Early Egyptians noticed that bodies buried directly in the dry, hot desert sands were naturally better preserved than those in moist ground, simply due to desiccation.
Ah, okay.
This observation then evolved into the sophisticated priestly art of mummification, a highly complex process designed to preserve leaders as a physical sign of spiritual incorruptibility, ensuring their passage to and continued influence in the afterlife.
And here's a truly striking and, well, unsettling detail from that evolution. Early pharaohs were actually buried with sacrificed living servants.
Yes, it's quite grim. Servants who were meant to accompany them to the next world and continue their service. Thankfully, this horrific practice was later replaced by Shapti statues,
Shaptis.
small figurines intended to depict servants who would magically come to life and perform tasks in the afterlife. This shift suggests perhaps a dawning recognition of the inhumanity of the earlier practice, a subtle but significant evolution in their spiritual beliefs and ethics around death.
And today, these mummies and tombs are invaluable troves for modern science and archaeology.
Absolutely. They allow scientists to use non-invasive techniques like X-rays, CT scans, genetic tests, helping us understand who the ancient Egyptians were, what they ate, what diseases they had, what their lives were truly like.
So in a very literal and profound sense, the pharaohs have indeed become what their people wanted them to be, immortal conduits.
Exactly. Bridging their ancient world with our modern one, continuously providing humanity with permanent, tangible symbols of history and a direct link to their past.
Complex societies and intercontinental connections.
Okay, moving eastward now, from the Nile. Let's explore the megacities of the ancient Indus Valley, a world of mysteries. This civilization, flourishing from about 6000 BCE to 1500 BCE, that's incredibly old.
One of the oldest and most remarkably advanced on Earth for its time. Their urban planning was truly astonishing. Intricately designed cities like Mohenjo-Daro.
I've heard of Mohenjo-Daro.
Right. It featured organized street grids, sophisticated drainage systems, even indoor plumbing and public swimming pools. Urban planners and architects still study these cities today for their innovative layouts and hydraulic engineering.
But that sophistication has led to some weird theories.
Unfortunately, yes, particularly in modern times. For instance, the popular Ancient Aliens TV series suggested Mohenjo-Daro was destroyed by a nuclear explosion.
Seriously.
Yeah, citing vitrified pottery as evidence. But, as our sources clarify, vitrification is simply a normal part of the high-temperature clay firing process for pottery, and the city's relatively well-preserved state, including many intact mud brick buildings, completely debunks any idea of a catastrophic city-destroying explosion.
So just misinterpreting the evidence.
A classic case of it. The greatest enduring mystery of the Indus Valley civilization, though, is their undeciphered language.
Right, the script.
Archaeologists have uncovered thousands of artifacts bearing the Indus Valley script, but the short lines found bear only superficial similarities to other known scripts. Not enough to piece together meaning.
So we just can't read it.
We can't. Some experts even question if it's a true phonetic language at all. They suggest it might be a complex system of personalized seals, like signatures or brand logos, rather than a full system for communication.
Which really emphasizes the crucial, often painstaking role of archaeologists as the CSIs of historical research, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Without decipherable written records, they have to rely on meticulous physical evidence, artifacts, settlement patterns, environmental data to reconstruct the stories and daily lives of these people, stories that are otherwise lost to time.
What we do know is that a civilization rivaling Sumer in size and complexity thrived in ancient India and Pakistan.
And engaged in extensive trade with its Western counterparts, demonstrating really early intercontinental connections.
And on a fascinating, maybe sobering side note, you mentioned the power of cultural symbols being tragically reappropriated.
Yes, it's worth remembering. India's name comes from the Indus, or Sindhu River. Its native name, Farhat, relates to the mythical emperor Farhata. But the Nazis, tragically, took the ancient Hindu symbol of the swastika,
Which was originally positive, right?
widely used symbol for good luck and prosperity across many cultures, yeah. They took that and the Sanskrit root Arya, meaning important or noble, and brutally distorted them into symbols of hate and racial superiority.
It's a stark reminder that even history's details, its powerful iconography, can be twisted and repurposed with devastating consequences.
Indeed. From the mysteries of the Indus Valley, let's turn our attention now to the Hittites and what they left behind. The empire strikes first. By around 1300 BCE, the Near East was pretty much dominated by three major superpowers.
Okay, who were they?
You had the Hittites in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. You had the New Kingdom Egyptians to the south, and the terrifying Assyrians to the southeast.
We'll get to the Assyrians.
Oh, we will. The Hittites were particularly significant for their early establishment of large, centrally governed nations and empires that absorbed and integrated numerous smaller groups and city-states. They set a precedent for territorial expansion and control.
And there's a really captivating story that illustrates their peak power.
Yes, involving the pharaoh Tutankhamun's widow, Ankhesenamun. Around 1325 BCE, amid suspicious circumstances surrounding Tut's sudden death, Hittite records tell us Ankhesenamun sent a desperate plea to the Hittite king Suppiluliuma, requesting a Hittite prince for marriage.
Aye.
Her plea, famously recorded, was something like, "I would not wish to take one of my subjects as a husband, I am afraid." It perfectly captures the intricate political maneuvering of the time and the incredibly high regard in which the Hittites, as a dominant regional power, were held, even by powerful nations like Egypt.
Wow. Okay, shifting back to the enduring legacy of the Nile, we delve into the pharaohs of Egypt's New Kingdom, enduring legacies. This era, from roughly 1549 to 1077 BCE, is widely considered a golden age for an already unfathomably ancient Egypt.
It really is. Their legacy from this period is truly impressive and still commands awe today. The Great Pyramids, which had already stood for over 1,000 years by then, countless colossal sculptures, magnificent specialized temples, and a substantial, rich body of hieroglyphic literature that continues to be translated and studied.
A testament to their enduring influence and cultural sophistication. And within this period, we encounter truly remarkable rulers, like Hatshepsut.
Yes, Hatshepsut, one of the first truly powerful female pharaohs. Despite a concerted posthumous effort to erase her achievements from historical records and attribute them to her male successor.
They tried to erase her.
They did, but the attempt didn't work. Her legacy stands tall and undeniable, a testament to her strength and effective rule.
Then there's Akhenaten. His reign was marked by a controversial and radical shift to monotheism.
Extremely radical for the time, centered entirely on the worship of the sun god Aten. This challenged millennia of polytheistic tradition. He even moved the capital from Thebes to a completely new city, Amarna, built specifically in Aten's tribute.
Did Amarna last?
Not as the capital after his death, no, but its subsequent abandonment meant archaeologists found a near-pristine ancient city thousands of years later. It offers an unparalleled, perfectly preserved glimpse into that unique and tumultuous period.
And of course, we have to discuss Ramesses II, often known as Ozymandias.
Thanks to Percy Bysshe Shelley's famous poem, yes. Shelley's poem suggests that power is ultimately arrogant and ephemeral, destined to crumble into dust.
Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
Exactly. But the ancient Egyptians had a profoundly different view. They saw these monuments not as attempts to escape the inevitable passage of time, but as eternal guidance for future generations, making pharaohs immortal conduits in a very literal sense.
Back to that idea.
Continuing to provide humanity with permanent physical symbols of their history and their connection to the divine. Their intent wasn't fleeting glory, but enduring cosmic order.
Okay, let's wade into the Marsh empires of Mesopotamia, Assyria and Babylon. The Assyrians, you mentioned them earlier, ruled northern Mesopotamia from around 2000 BCE to 612 BCE, and they were a stark contrast to earlier civilizations like Sumer.
A very stark contrast. Our sources describe them as more uniform, more efficient, and undeniably more brutal.
And they absolutely lived up to that description.
Oh, yes. No ancient empire was more terrifyingly brutal than the Assyrians. They deliberately used terror as a tool of policy. Ashurnasirpal's chilling accounts of flaying rebellious nobles and draping their skins over city walls, or erecting them on stakes for public display. They're truly gruesome and leave little to the imagination. These weren't idle threats. Their vassal treaties explicitly promised such horrific fates for rebels, a powerful deterrent.
Yet there's this thing our sources call the Assyrian contradiction.
Right. Simultaneously brutal and sophisticated patrons of arts and culture. They hosted the world's largest library in Nineveh, with tens of thousands of cuneiform tablets.
Wow.
They had advanced plumbing systems, including Archimedes screws to lift water. They created the first road stations for rapid communication across their vast empire. This demonstrates a remarkable level of administrative and cultural sophistication existing, paradoxically, alongside their shocking brutality.
It really forces you to confront the complex nature of power, doesn't it? Where intellectual and artistic flourishing can coexist with extreme violence. Challenges that simplistic idea that cultural advancement means moral progress.
Precisely. Now, in southern Mesopotamia, Babylon's influence was also profoundly significant, spanning from about 1830 BCE to 539 BCE.
Hammurabi's code comes from Babylon, right?
We owe Hammurabi's famous eye for an eye code of justice to them, yes, a foundational legal principle. And the symbolic power of Nebuchadnezzar II and the legendary Hanging Gardens, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, also Babylonian.
So they played a crucial and distinct role. Neither as ancient as Sumer, nor as brutal as Assyria.
But a powerful and enduring link in its own right, absolutely.
And the writing system that tied many of these diverse Mesopotamian empires together was cuneiform.
Cuneiform, yeah. Latin for wedge form, referring to those distinctive wedge-shaped marks made by a stylus in wet clay. It was the primary script for Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. Scribes were essentially the attorneys, accountants, historians of their time.
Doing everything.
Keeping public records, verifying contracts, transcribing everything from complex laws to epic fiction.
And what's truly intriguing is the Babylonian Empire's indirect but profound role in the creation of the Hebrew Bible.
Yes, this is fascinating. During their Babylonian captivity in 587 BCE, Jewish scribes, facing the existential threat of cultural annihilation and fearing the irreversible loss of their oral histories, made the crucial decision to write them down for the first time. This monumental act of preservation, born directly of oppression and displacement, ensured their traditions and narratives survived for millennia.
Wow. Okay, now let's cross the Atlantic to the ancient world of the Olmecs, the rubber people. While the mighty empires of the Middle East were clashing and building legacies, a completely new and distinct culture emerged in the humid jungles of Mesoamerica around 1500 BCE.
Dominating the region for about 1,000 years, yeah. What historians still can't fully answer about them, their precise social structure, their pantheon of gods, the reasons for their eventual decline, makes them truly mysterious and endlessly fascinating.
And one of the most striking archaeological discoveries related to them is the ball game.
Strong evidence they played an early version of ulama, the sacred Mesoamerican ball game later adopted and ritualized by the Mayans and Aztecs. Unlike modern sports, though, the Olmec rubber balls were solid, heavy, weighed up to 10 pounds.
10 pounds, that sounds dangerous.
Made the game far more dangerous and clearly ritualistic, highlighting its sacred nature and profound cultural significance.
And their legacy might even echo in ancient myths across continents. You mentioned legends of giants.
It's intriguing. Aztec stories of the Cunametsin, a race of giants said to have walked the earth in primordial times. They surprisingly echo similar legends from other ancient cultures, like the Nephilim mentioned in Genesis or the mighty Greek Titans.
It really shows a fascinating recurring theme in human storytelling across vastly different societies and geographical locations. Suggests maybe shared archetypal narratives about origins.
Could be. From Mesoamerica, we swing back to the Middle East for Cyrus the Great and the Achaemenid Dream, a radical empire. The story of Cyrus is profoundly moving, especially from a certain perspective.
How so?
Imagine Jewish priests held captive in Babylon, forced to write down their sacred texts in 587 BCE, fearing their faith and identity would just die with them. They looked desperately for a rescuer, a divine liberator, a messiah.
And they found him in Cyrus the Great.
That's what our sources point out. The biblical book of Isaiah, specifically chapter 45, calls Cyrus the Messiah and identifies him as divinely appointed to save the Jewish people. And this wasn't just speculation. Cyrus's approach to governance was radically tolerant, almost unheard of for its time.
How is it different?
Unlike other empires that ruthlessly imposed their religion and culture on conquered peoples, the Zoroastrian Persians under Cyrus allowed unprecedented religious freedom and local autonomy.
That truly predates Western democracies in separating church and state by millennia, a revolutionary concept for imperial rule.
It really was. The Persian Empire under Cyrus not only prohibited slavery across its vast domains, but also allowed women to own property. Policies far more liberal regarding human rights than even the much-lauded ancient Athens, which widely practiced slavery and restricted women's rights.
And this really challenges a common Western narrative that often idealizes ancient Greece, doesn't it?
Completely. The Crusades, subtly but powerfully, projected an ideological conflict onto the ancient Greek-Persian dynamic, making it seem like a struggle between enlightened Western values and oppressive Eastern despotism.
But Persia, despite being a monarchy, often had more advanced human rights policies compared to Athens' widespread slavery and limited democracy.
Exactly. It's a fascinating reevaluation of history, forcing us to question ingrained perceptions.
Finally, in this section, we visit the secrets of Kush, southern pharaohs, and hidden histories. We noted earlier that Ethiopia holds the astonishing distinction as the origin of humanity.
The birthplace of our species, yeah.
So logically, you'd expect to know much more about its ancient history. But there's a significant challenge: the scarcity of surviving ancient Ethiopian documents.
And the frustrating fact that the Meroitic script used during the Kush period remains largely undeciphered by modern scholars.
It's truly a vast historical blank slate. Despite over a century of dedicated study and archaeological effort, we simply cannot read the Meroitic script with any comprehensive understanding.
There's immense hope, of course, that a Rosetta Stone-like translation or some groundbreaking linguistic breakthrough will one day unlock Kush's greatest mysteries, reveal stories and knowledge currently hidden.
What is clear, even without deciphering the script, is Kush's profound strategic importance.
Absolutely. Located just south of Egypt, encompassing modern-day Sudan and Ethiopia, it served as a vital hub connecting the Mediterranean world to sub-Saharan nations. This constant dynamic cross-cultural contact brought dramatic changes.
Like what?
New gods influencing the Meroitic language and cultural practices coming from unknown southern nations. It led to a rich synthesis. If we ever decipher Meroitic, these might be among the many profound mysteries solved, offering a completely new perspective on ancient African history.
And Diodorus Siculus, he pops up again.
Our Greek friend makes a second intriguing appearance. He described Kush as an earthly paradise filled with an idyllic society. He also floated some far-fetched theories.
Such as?
Like the Kushites defeating the mythical Hercules, or the revered Egyptian god Osiris being of Ethiopian origin. It raises a fascinating question. Was he drawing on genuine, long-standing oral traditions that have since vanished? Or just allowing his own imagination and maybe cultural biases to fill the vast gaps in his knowledge?
That's another example of how history often blends seamlessly with legend, and how incredibly hard it is, even for seasoned historians, to tell the definitive difference. Forces us to consider multiple possibilities.
Classical golden ages and empires.
All right, let's step into the classical golden ages and empires, beginning with how the Greek city-states united, a loose confederation. Ancient Greece, or Hellas as they called it, is immensely important to the foundations of Western history, isn't it? Influencing everything from philosophy to democracy.
Absolutely fundamental. However, we should probably caution against that romanticized, almost utopian view of it that was popular in the 18th and 19th centuries.
Right. In reality, it was more like Sumer. a loose cluster of independent city-states, often at war with each other, each achieving supremacy for a while before being eclipsed.
Athens, with its iconic Parthenon, its intellectual giants like Socrates and Plato, its democratic ideals. It's often seen as the heart and pinnacle of Greece.
It is. But our sources challenge that utopian image directly. Athens was neither consistently peaceful nor truly democratic by modern standards. Only about 15% of its population, wealthy male citizens over 18, actually had the right to vote or participate in governance.
Only 15%. Wow.
And, significantly, it widely practiced chattel slavery, a stark ethical contrast to Persia, which, as we discussed, had taken formal steps to prohibit it.
It's a complicated, even paradoxical legacy, isn't it? Yet, despite its profound flaws and limited inclusivity, Athens' flawed democracy still inspired later Western political philosophy and the very idea of representative government.
It did. The inaccurate perception that 18th century thinkers had of Athens as an enlightened, fully democratic society ironically yielded positive outcomes. It made them believe that democracy and broader human rights were genuinely possible, even achievable.
Shows that sometimes, even if your historical premise is a bit off, it can still serve as a powerful catalyst for positive, transformative change in human thought and governance.
And power among these Greek city-states constantly shifted, often violently. Sparta briefly dominated after winning the Peloponnesian War.
It then
Dramatically fell to the rising power of Thebes at the decisive Battle of Leuctra. Ultimately, this constant flux and internal conflict paved the way for the rise of Macedon under Philip II, a dynamic and ambitious king who swiftly unified the fractious Greek city-states.
setting the stage for one of history's greatest conquerors.
Which naturally brings us to the empire of Alexander the Great, world conqueror and globalizer. Philip II may have unified Greece, laying the groundwork, but his son, Alexander III, became the true inventor of globalism. Through an unparalleled series of military conquests, he rapidly expanded his empire across 3 continents, creating unprecedented cultural and economic connections that, in very different forms, still resonate across Eurasia today.
And his tutor was Aristotle.
None other than the renowned Greek philosopher, yes. Aristotle taught him that everything that happens out of necessity, and that there's a natural order to the cosmos. Alexander seemingly interpreted this profound philosophical idea as a divine mandate to rule the world.
Kind of like the mandate of heaven in China.
Strikingly akin to it, yeah. The idea that a ruler's legitimacy is bestowed by divine approval and their success reflects this approval. He inherited not only a massive, well-trained army, but also a popular mandate to complete his father's unfinished plan to invade Persia. His monumental to-do list was literally set from birth.
His counterpart, Darius III of the Achaemenid Persian Empire, he had a much tougher situation.
A much different and ultimately tragic fate. Darius inherited a hobbled empire, significantly weakened by decades of debilitating palace intrigue, internal rebellions, crippling financial strain. In stark contrast, Alexander was in his early 20s, peak physical and military prowess,
Right.
watching his father's power grow. This dramatic contrast helps explain the rapid, almost unbelievable Persian collapse under Alexander's onslaught. Egypt, for example, a cornerstone of the Persian Empire, surrendered to Alexander without a fight. They even welcomed him as the physical incarnation of the god Osiris, hailing him as a liberator.
Alexander's objective wasn't just conquest, though. He had this vision of Hellenization.
Exactly. The systematic spreading of Greek language, religion, philosophy, and cultural values across his vast empire. His personal life often reflected this ambition. He took Persian wives, most famously Roxana of Bactria, a powerful regional princess.
And her story is quite tragic.
Very. She apparently assassinated rivals to secure her son's claim to the throne after Alexander's sudden death, only to be assassinated herself along with her young son shortly after. It powerfully highlights the brutal aftermath and the devastating power vacuums that follow the demise of such an absolute ruler.
Now let's journey far east to the first emperor of Qin, unifying China. For much of its 5,000-year history, China was more of a vast region, the Middle Kingdom, comprising numerous competing states rather than a single unified country.
That's right. It was Qin Shi Huang, who reigned from 259 to 210 BCE, who, through a series of ruthless military campaigns, finally unified it after centuries of the chaotic warring states period. He created a powerful precedent for future pan-Chinese nations and a centralized imperial system.
Central to Chinese philosophical thought and governance is Confucius.
The enduring wisdom of Confucius, yes, lived from 551 to 479 BCE. He taught that individuals serve the world best by refining their consciences and meticulously developing personal virtues like benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom.
Which was a radical idea for emperors who believed their right to rule was based solely on birthright or military might.
Absolutely radical.
Yeah.
And Qin Shi Huang, in his pursuit of absolute control, tried to completely suppress Confucianism. He banned its texts, ordered the infamous burning of the books, and brutally slaughtered hundreds of its intellectual supporters and scholars.
Did it work?
Ultimately, no. His efforts failed. Confucianism saw a powerful resurgence under the subsequent Han Dynasty and ultimately became China's most influential and enduring philosophical system, shaping Chinese society for millennia.
It's also from this tumultuous warring states period that we get Sun Tzu's The Art of War.
A timeless and profoundly influential strategy guide, still studied by military leaders and business executives today. Its pragmatism just shines through in pieces of advice like, all warfare is based on deception, or the prescient observation that no country has ever benefited from prolonged warfare, and even supreme excellence consists far beyond the battlefield.
And just to clear up a common misconception about one of Qin Shi Huang's most famous legacies, the Great Wall of China. It's not visible from the moon with the naked eye.
Definitely not. Portions might be seen from low Earth orbit, like the ISS, but only if you know exactly where to look under perfect conditions. It's still an awe-inspiring feat of engineering, regardless.
Okay, from China, we travel to India for the reign of the Emperor Ashoka. From conqueror to saint. Ashoka, who reigned from 304 to 232 BCE, sounds truly unique. Revered as both a brutally effective conqueror and a pacifistic Buddhist saint.
He is unique in that way. Expanded the Mauryan Empire to its greatest extent, but then became this champion of nonviolence. It's crucial to understand, though, he certainly didn't wear both hats at the same time.
So what happened? What caused the change?
His profound transformation began after the incredibly costly and devastating conquest of Kalinga. He subjugated the region with immense bloodshed. The deep remorse and spiritual anguish he felt over the suffering he had inflicted led directly to his conversion to Buddhism.
So he got religion, like many people do, after feeling terrible about past actions.
Exactly. But his conversion was remarkably genuine and incredibly far-reaching in its impact. He took his new faith very seriously, translating his Buddhist principles into state policy.
How did he do that?
Ashoka had his apologies for past violence and promises of basic human rights inscribed on dozens of massive 50-foot sandstone pillars and rocks. He distributed these throughout his vast empire. These Ashokan pillars are among the world's earliest binding human rights documents.
Really?
Explicitly laying out principles of justice, compassion, and religious tolerance. Later scribes even added to these pillars, creating a permanent, evolving historical record.
And his conversion was deeply tied to the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism.
Yes, the core idea is that life is inherently suffering. Suffering is caused by desire and attachment, and by letting go of desire through the Eightfold Path, suffering can cease and liberation can be achieved. His personal life, transforming from ruthless conqueror to champion of peace, embodies this profound journey.
From immense personal and collective pain to a quest for a more enlightened, compassionate path for his people.
Exactly. Now let's explore the rise of the Roman Republic, the city on the hills. Legend places Rome's founding on April 21st, 753 BCE, a symbolic date. Its early history wasn't too different from other small Mediterranean city-states, often just struggling for survival.
But then, around 509 BCE, the Romans did something truly unique.
Defining, really. They overthrew their existing king and boldly established the Roman Republic, laying the groundwork for a completely new form of governance.
A pivotal moment. The Republic then expanded relentlessly, not through one massive conquest, but gradually.
Gradually, yes, defeating obscure regional civilizations around them. By 200 BCE, Rome was already a dominant regional power. By 100 BCE, its territory stretched across much of southern Europe and northern Africa, an undeniable global power, establishing the foundations of a vast empire.
And the Roman Republic truly bridges the gap between ancient and modern political systems.
It does. While it shared traits with older civilizations, polytheistic religion originating as a loose confederation, it also featured a relatively modern, representative, and highly bureaucratic government. In fact, the Roman Republic gave the West much of its core political vocabulary.
Terms like Senate, citizen, republic.
Still in use today, demonstrating its profound and lasting influence on political thought.
And their story is incomplete without discussing the Punic Wars. the conflicts with Carthage.
Intense existential conflicts. Carthage was of Phoenician origin, hence Punic. The Second Punic War was particularly deadly and nearly catastrophic for Rome, largely thanks to the audacious Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca.
Hannibal, crossing the Alps with elephants.
Undertook a truly physically impossible 986-mile land invasion across the mighty Alps, yes, crossing hundreds of miles of hostile territory with a massive army and war elephants. He was driven by a powerful, deeply personal motivation to avenge his family after the Romans had killed his father and brother.
And he came incredibly close to victory.
Ran roughshod over the Italian peninsula for 15 grueling years, almost bringing Rome to its knees. His determination and military genius were legendary.
And his famous deathbed quote.
Our sources give it as, "Let us relieve the Romans from the anxiety they have so long experienced, since they think it tries their patience too much to wait for an old man's death."
What a powerful, sardonic way to go. Cementing his legacy as one of history's greatest military strategists and Rome's most formidable foe.
Okay, after the Republic, Rome made its dramatic and inevitable shift to empire. A tumultuous period we call Rome becomes an empire, power and its price.
The 1st century BCE saw power shift from a weakening republic, riddled with internal strife and corruption, to the first triumvirate. 3 immensely powerful generals, Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus.
And Crassus's death changed everything.
His untimely death fighting the Parthians led directly to Caesar's consolidation of power and his eventual declaration as dictator for life.
Which led, of course, to one of history's most famous assassinations. The Ides of March, March 15, 44 BCE. Julius Caesar stabbed 23 times by a conspiracy of senators, including figures like Brutus and Longinus. They truly believed they were heroically restoring the Republic.
But in a profound, tragic irony,
their desperate act doomed it instead, plunging Rome into further civil war and ultimately paving the way for imperial rule.
The assassination triggered a bloody power struggle leading to the Second Triumvirate,
comprising Mark Antony, Lepidus, and Octavian, Caesar's adopted son and grandnephew. They were granted emergency powers by the Senate to crush the Republican forces and restore order.
And Antony's fatal political blunder was marrying Cleopatra,
who was already married to Octavian's sister, yes, gave Octavian the perfect pretext for war. The ensuing conflict, culminating in the Battle of Actium, ended with Antony and Cleopatra's suicides.
And the execution of Caesarion, Cleopatra's son, by Julius Caesar.
Right, and Octavian consolidating all power. In 27 BCE, he formally became the first Roman emperor, Caesar Augustus, inaugurating the Pax Romana.
And it's worth noting that the name of the Roman Senate itself comes from a senex, meaning elderly.
Reflects the traditionally privileged status the old held in ancient societies, revered for their wisdom and experience.
Finally, in this classical sweep, we turn to Jesus Christ and his times, a revolutionary figure. The story of Jesus largely begins with the letters of St. Paul of Tarsus, written decades before the Gospels.
Yes, these are the earliest and arguably most candid Christian documents. Their historicity, providing a window into early Christian communities and beliefs, is generally not in question. They offer striking insights into the ancient world and the often oppressive power of the Roman Empire.
And to truly understand the context, we need to revisit the Jewish community's anxious, fervent wait for a Messiah during Babylonian oppression and later Roman rule.
They desperately sought a divine liberator, yes. We previously discussed how they identified Cyrus the Great as a Messiah in Isaiah 45, chosen by God to save them. This provides crucial context for Jesus' crucifixion as one of many messianic figures executed by Rome, highlighting the political and religious tensions of the era.
And there's external validation for the early Christian movement.
From Flavius Josephus, a prominent Jewish historian. The Antiquities of the Jews, written no later than 94 CE, includes references to Jesus, his brother James, and John the Baptist. He even treats John the Baptist's death as a major historical event. These non-biblical sources lend significant historical weight.
It's important to note a fascinating detail about the Holy Grail tradition.
Ah, yes, the cup from which Jesus supposedly drank at the Last Supper. Despite its immense popular lore and cultural significance today, it makes a surprisingly late appearance in documented historical records. Not until the 12th century.
So its origins are more rooted in medieval romance than early Christian texts.
It seems that way. And the profound irony of history is truly staggering here. Christianity, founded in the wake of a Roman execution of a revolutionary figure, a minor sect in a distant province,
would, within centuries,
transform from a persecuted faith into the official religion of the very Roman Empire that executed its founder. A truly astonishing and transformative shift in global religious and political power.
New eras, global shifts, and enduring traditions.
Okay, as we move into new eras, global shifts, and enduring traditions, we start with China's Six Dynasties period, a fragmented empire. China's long history has this unique, almost rhythmic cycle of unity and division.
It really does. A fascinating pattern, reflecting its immense size, diverse geography, vast cultural differences across regions, all making sustained political unity incredibly difficult to maintain over long periods.
The mighty 400-year Han Dynasty, which had brought relative stability, finally collapsed in 220 CE.
Ushering in the turbulent and chaotic Six Dynasties period. For a staggering 369 years, China went through 6 different ruling dynasties, including the famous Three Kingdoms period, the fragmented 16 Kingdoms, the later Northern and Southern dynasties. It was a time of constant political upheaval, military conflict, significant social instability.
And you have to love the intriguing story of Cao Cao from the Three Kingdoms era. He became an ex-emperor without ever actually being one.
It's a great historical quirk. Most emperors gain their title in life, but Cao Cao holds that unusual distinction. His son, Cao Pi, after establishing the state of Cao Wei, posthumously declared his father the founding emperor, much like Octavian did for Julius Caesar in Rome, a fascinating way to legitimize a new dynasty by linking it to a powerful, revered predecessor.
From China, let's return to Rome for the Pax Romana and beyond, the Age of Emperors. The Pax Romana from 27 BCE to 180 CE, often perceived as absolute peace.
That's the popular imagination. But our sources challenge this idyllic perception significantly. It was merely a period without civil war on a grand scale. It was still marked by constant border expansion, often brutal suppression and mass slaughter of dissidents, numerous political assassinations, widespread corruption.
Even including infamous emperors like Caligula and Nero.
Exactly. Speaking of Nero, let's debunk that famous myth. He did not fiddle while Rome burned.
Right. Fiddles hadn't been invented yet.
Not even close. While historians recount, he might have sung a mournful song about the fall of Troy while watching the devastating fire. The fiddling part is pure fabrication, a later embellishment to underscore his perceived depravity.
The ultimate fall of the Western Roman Empire is hugely complex and debated.
Profoundly so. Edward Gibbon's famous 18th century theory of barbarism and religion is one view blaming barbarian invasions and the rise of Christianity. But our sources offer a more nuanced perspective with 5 key contributing factors.
Okay, what are they?
First, Rome was simply too big to sustain. Struggling to govern and protect its vast borders, a common challenge for large states, think the USSR. Second, it was too poor. Constant military conflicts, huge infrastructure demands, the logistics of food distribution, it all drained resources. Third, it became too cruel, developing this self-destructive pattern of hiring barbarian legionaries, often to abuse their own kin, leading to widespread defection and weakening loyalty.
Makes sense.
And finally, people were simply tired of it. After generations living under a slowly dying, increasingly ineffective empire, there was a desire for new forms of governance and identity.
And the Roman class structure itself was very rigid.
Formally and rigidly distinguished, defining social and political power. At the top, the patricians, descendants of the original founding families. Below them, the plebeians, common citizens who later gained some political rights.
Then the proletariat.
Poor plebeians, often without voting rights, named for their proles or offspring, as their only contribution to the state. And at the bottom, the vast population of slaves, without any rights, fundamental to the Roman economy and society. A formalized hierarchy from the ground up.
Moving to India, we encounter India under the Guptas, the great chess masters. Ancient India was one of the most literate and philosophically sophisticated societies on earth.
Absolutely. Producing vast literary works like the 1.8 million word Mahabharata, a truly colossal epic, dwarfing the entire Protestant Bible in length. This abundance of diverse records, from religious texts to scientific treatises, makes its timeline incredibly rich and complex to navigate.
The Gupta period, flourishing from around 320 to 550 CE, is truly the ancient India we tend to imagine.
Deeply religious and literary, A golden age marked by significant advancements in science, art, and philosophy. It gave us key intellectual figures like Aryabhata, who made groundbreaking contributions to astronomy and trigonometry.
Okay.
And Kalidasa, whose exquisite Sanskrit literature is widely translated and admired to this day.
And famously, this period saw the invention of chess.
The strategy game we call chess, originally known as chaturanga, Sanskrit for four limbs, referring to the four divisions of the ancient Indian army represented by the game's pieces: infantry, pawns, horse cavalry, knights, elephant cavalry, bishops, and chariots.
Rooks, a game that perfectly encapsulates strategic thinking, born from a rich military and intellectual tradition.
Indeed. Shifting back to Mesoamerica, we explore the golden age of the Mayans, long counts and stone cities. Mayan civilization technically predates the Olmecs by about 1,500 years.
Wow, putting it on par with Sumer and Egypt in sheer age.
Right. Their golden age, flourishing from 250 to 900 CE, saw them become the largest and most developed civilization in the Americas, with art, architecture, astronomical knowledge rivaling their global contemporaries.
Chichen Itza is a key Mayan site.
Meaning, at the mouth of the sacred waters, yes, a true marvel. Its massive natural sinkholes or cenotes, the iconic pyramid of Kukulkan, its sophisticated observatory, numerous temples, the largest ball court in Mesoamerica. It all provides a wealth of information on Mayan ceremonial culture, their sophisticated calendar systems, spiritual practices.
And let's clear up another popular misconception. The Mayan calendar did not predict the world's end in 2012.
Absolutely not. Most versions of their complex calendar didn't even end on that specific date, and none explicitly linked it to a doomsday scenario. It was merely the end of a long cycle, like our calendar rolling over from December 31st to January 1st. An opportunity for new beginnings, not cataclysm. Another myth thoroughly debunked.
But despite the wealth of information, lingering mysteries about the Mayans remain.
Profound mysteries, yes. We still don't know much about the precise reasons for the Mayans' initial rise to such unparalleled power and cultural sophistication, nor why they eventually abandoned their great stone cities and ceremonial centers across the lowlands. Compelling secrets still held by the dense jungles of the Yucatan.
From there, we make a profound global shift to Islam and the New Middle East, the Holy Prophet's decree. After the 7th century, the rapid expansion of Christianity and Islam dramatically transformed the world's religious landscape,
establishing two of the largest and most influential faiths that continue to shape societies and cultures globally, yes.
The Prophet Muhammad, living from 570 to 632, delivered a powerful and enduring message.
Yes, and in his final sermon, delivered shortly before his death, he emphasized the critical importance of spreading his words through generations, expressing this profound trust that the last ones understand my words better than those who listen to me directly. Highlights the dynamic, evolving nature of interpretation within Islam.
And core Islamic values, even early on, are epitomized by Tawhid and Shirk.
Those are foundational. Tawhid emphasizes the absolute unity and uniqueness of Allah, the singular God, rejecting any multiplicity in divinity. Conversely, Shirk refers to the profound sin of partnering or associating anything with God's power through idolatry, polytheism, or even human arrogance and self-promotion in religious display. These two concepts form the bedrock of Islamic belief.
Our journey continues with the glory of the Sassanids, King of Kings. The Sassanids, reigning from 224 to 651 CE in Persia, they inherited the formidable military traditions of the Parthians.
They did. And the Parthians were incidentally indirectly responsible for setting the stage for the Roman Empire by killing Crassus, that powerful Roman general, creating a power vacuum.
And the Sassanids inflicted an unprecedented humiliation on the mighty Roman Empire.
Unprecedented, yes. They actually captured and permanently imprisoned a sitting Roman emperor, Valerian, at the Battle of Edessa in 260 CE. An absolutely shocking blow to Roman prestige, demonstrating the Sassanids' incredible military prowess and the shifting balance of power. Proved Rome wasn't invincible.
The fall of the Sassanid Empire in 651 CE to Arab-Muslim armies marked a monumental shift, ending Zoroastrianism's dominance.
As a major world religious and imperial power, yes, it was replaced by Islam. Yet for nearly 8 centuries, through both the preceding Parthian and the Sassanid periods, Zoroastrianism stood as a powerful, organized imperial ideology rivaling Christianity and Roman paganism, leaving a profound cultural and historical legacy that still quietly resonates.
Medieval transformations and empires.
Entering the medieval transformations and empires, we turn to the unity of Japan, the rising sun. From the late 6th century, Chinese culture, Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism profoundly influenced Japan.
In terms of governance, philosophy, art, absolutely. But Japan didn't simply abandon or reject its ancestral Shinto traditions. Instead, it ingeniously blended these powerful foreign influences with its existing indigenous beliefs, creating a truly unique and enduring dual cultural identity.
And this blending is clear in Japan's early historical texts, like the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki.
both compiled in the early 8th century, yeah. These foundational texts describe the mythical creation of Japan's islands and the lineages of its early rulers within a distinctly Shinto framework, while also incorporating elements of Chinese dynastic history and ethical thought.
The Nara and Heian periods, from 710 to 1185 CE, saw Japanese monarchs build grand capitals like Kyoto,
Reflecting both these deep ancestral traditions and the sophisticated influences of Chinese urban planning and architectural styles, yes.
And crucially, during these periods, we see the increasing power of the aristocracy and especially the military classes.
Which directly foreshadowed the intense power struggles that would lead to the tumultuous Sengoku Jidai, or period of warring provinces. This era of conflict gave birth to the iconic mythology surrounding the samurai,
Ah, the samurai.
a distinct warrior class whose ethos was governed by Bushinomichi or Bushido, the way of the warrior, emphasizing loyalty, honor, martial skill.
From the disciplined warriors of Japan, let's look at the fearsome Viking conquests of Europe, butchers and kings. That romanticized view of Vikings as purely honor-bound warriors, it's often challenged by more practical explanations.
Very much so. Economic destabilization, rapid population growth, profound political changes in Scandinavia, these likely displaced thousands of ambitious young soldiers, making the wealthy, less defended coastal communities of Europe their prime feeding grounds for plunder and settlement, more practical than just a love of fight.
The first major, shocking sign of Viking trouble for Western Europe came in June 793. The raid on Lindisfarne Monastery.
A revered spiritual center in northern England, yes. They slaughtered monks, stole precious loot, and as one contemporary wrote in horror, poured out the blood of saints around the altar. This horrific incident profoundly put Western Europe on notice and initiated 3 centuries of relentless Viking raids, conquests, and eventual settlements across the continent.
And then there were the berserkers.
Truly terrifying. Bearskin-shirted warriors said to draw on the violent, primal energy of the bears they revered, entering a trance-like state during battle. Their ferocity and seeming imperviousness to pain made them a truly fearsome and psychologically devastating sight for medieval European armies, embodied the raw, untamed power of the Viking onslaught.
After the initial waves of Viking incursions, Christian Europe found a new symbol of unity and power in the Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne's Christian Europe.
In a pivotal moment on Christmas Day, 800 CE, Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne, the powerful king of the Franks, as Roman emperor in Rome. This act solidified Charlemagne's position as the greatest power in Western Europe and established him as a lasting, almost mythical symbol of a unified Christian Europe.
His enduring symbolic importance is clear in the medieval code of chivalry celebrating the 9 worthies.
Yes, Charlemagne stands as the only historical Christian monarch among them, placed alongside pagan figures like Hector and Alexander the Great and Jewish figures like King David. This unique stature highlights his profound historical significance as a unifying, powerful figure who helped shape the very identity of medieval Christian Europe.
This era also saw a critical fracture within Christendom, the Great Schism of 1054, East versus West. It might have seemed relatively minor at the time.
Comparatively minor, yes, a theological and political disagreement. But this formal split between the Western Roman Catholic Church, Rome, and the Eastern Orthodox churches, primarily Constantinople, gained its full, irreversible weight in later centuries, particularly due to the Crusades and other escalating conflicts.
And the permanent separation which endures today was driven by
A complex interplay of factors. Geographical and political distance between Rome and Constantinople, the latter established as a second capital by Constantine the Great. Crucially, differing liturgical practices, theological interpretations, evolving claims of papal authority, they steadily cemented the divide.
leading to terms like heresy and excommunication.
Beliefs contrary to official doctrine, heresy, and exclusion from the church, excommunication. Being declared anathema meant being sacrificed or permanently separated from the community of believers, left to God without the church's intercession.
And this brings us to the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition, violent radicalism. In 1095, Pope Urban II called for the First Crusade,
Ostensibly to reunite Eastern and Western Christians and liberate Jerusalem from Turkish Muslim rule, yes. But the Christian army quickly diverted its attention, engaging in massacres along the way.
Right.
And by the notorious Fourth Crusade in 1202, Western Christians shockingly looted and sacked Constantinople itself, turning on their fellow Christians.
It's crucial to clarify the common misunderstanding between crusade and jihad.
Very important. Crusades, specifically refers to the cross worn by the Crusaders, a literal fashion statement identifying them. Jihad is simply the Arabic word for struggle. It has a broad meaning. It can refer to a violent struggle like defensive war, but more commonly refers to a non-violent spiritual or moral struggle. Any personal effort to live according to God's will. The terms are not equivalent in their original meaning.
The Spanish Inquisition, initiated after the 1492 Alhambra Decree, a terrifying chapter,
Brutally forced Jewish and later Muslim residents to convert to Catholicism or face immediate expulsion from Spain. Yes, Tomás de Torquemada, the notoriously zealous Grand Inquisitor, created this pervasive climate of fear and betrayal, harassing, torturing, executing Marranos converts suspected of secretly practicing their old faith and anyone criticizing authority.
and the strategy was chillingly effective.
Release them only if they betray their neighbors, turning citizens against each other in a web of paranoia and denunciation. Truly horrific.
In stark contrast to that terror, let's explore the Caliphate of Córdoba, a radiant center of learning. Medieval Al-Andalus, or southern Spain, from about 720 to the late 15th century. It was the Greece of the Middle Ages.
A remarkably tolerant, scholarly, and vibrant Islamic theocracy that stood as a beacon of intellectual achievement, absolutely.
A place where knowledge profoundly flourished.
Astronomy and mathematics saw functional invention and significant advancement there, building on Greek, Indian, Persian knowledge. Both Jewish and Islamic theology thrived in this environment of relative tolerance. Vibrant trade networks connected Europe to the broader Islamic world.
The Umayyad Caliphate brought deep respect for literacy and diverse cultural influences to Spain,
Making it an unparalleled center of cultural brilliance in the medieval West, yes. While Al-Andalus eventually fragmented into 33 smaller kingdoms during the fitna, affliction or civil strife, after 1031.
They endured for a long time.
Surprisingly endured until the late 15th century Christian reconquest. Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand II, after completing the Reconquista, then controversially attempted to purge 7 centuries of history to erase the profound Muslim and Jewish cultural legacy.
But despite their efforts,
The rich intellectual, architectural, and cultural heritage of Muslim Spain remains an inviolable and integral part of the peninsula's history, a testament to its enduring influence.
across the African continent, we find the mystery of Great Zimbabwe, a city of gold and stone. This massive set of impressive stone ruins, known locally as houses of stone.
Well known to indigenous communities, yes, but remained mysterious to European colonizers, whose early Western archaeologists initially refused to believe it was built by local communities, attributing it instead to mythical foreign builders.
It wasn't until 1929 that they finally conceded the truth.
Right. Reclaiming this crucial legacy was a powerful symbolic step when independent Rhodesia chose the name Zimbabwe in 1980, asserting its indigenous heritage.
One of the greatest mysteries surrounding Great Zimbabwe is the puzzling lack of surviving written records, despite its immense wealth from gold trade and sophisticated social organization.
It is puzzling. It suggests that extensive oral histories and traditions were sufficient for their needs, perhaps passed down through generations of griots and storytellers. This contrasts sharply with the Israelites, who felt compelled to write down their history during Babylonian captivity precisely because they feared cultural genocide and the loss of their oral traditions.
And the extreme linguistic diversity of modern Zimbabwe makes it hard to trace those oral histories.
16 official languages, complex historical migrations. It makes it challenging to definitively identify the true heirs and custodians of Great Zimbabwe's oral histories. Despite ongoing DNA testing and translation efforts, some stories and secrets may forever remain untold, truly hidden by that impenetrable curtain of time.
And finally, we arrive at Genghis Khan and the triumph of the Mongols, Earth's greatest conqueror. Genghis Khan lived 1162 to 1227, oversaw conquests that created the largest contiguous land empire in human history.
Unprecedented conquests, yes. His campaigns dwarfed the territorial achievements of Rome, Alexander, Napoleon, tragically resulting in an estimated 10 to 40 million lives lost.
His achievement was truly unique and historically unparalleled.
Our sources state unequivocally that conquest on such a vast scale was impossible before Genghis Khan, and effectively impossible after Genghis Khan. This makes his military and organizational success singular in human history, demonstrating a level of strategic genius and logistical capacity rarely, if ever, replicated. He likely remains the only human in history to succeed so thoroughly in conquest.
What's particularly surprising is the role of women in his formidable army.
It is surprising. Not only did his forces include women warriors, but he specifically trained his own daughters for military leadership and governance. For instance, his oldest daughter, Alakai Beki, skillfully ruled vast Chinese territories.
Whoa.
And Altınbeki ably administered conquered Uyghur territories in modern-day Turkey. Demonstrates a remarkably progressive approach to female leadership for the era.
And chillingly, the sources connect Genghis Khan's massive conquests to the broader context of the Black Death.
Yes. The primordial killer bacterium, Yersinia pestis, responsible for the plague, has been traced back through 5,000-year-old DNA evidence. Mongol military records, amidst their strategic reports, also contain scattered accounts of plague outbreaks,
Suggesting
that the vast scale of their military movements and trade routes inadvertently facilitated the spread of historical epidemics, tragically intertwining conquest and disease on a global scale. Outro.
What an incredible journey we've just completed. I mean, from the earliest human footprints and the mysterious accuracy of ancient Greek historians like Diodorus Siculus, through the dawn of writing in Sumer and the enduring, multifaceted legacies of Egyptian pharaohs.
Right, the advanced urban planning of the Indus Valley, the complex interplay of powerful empires like the Hittites, Assyrians, Babylonians.
We explored the sacred ballgames of the Olmecs, discovered the radical tolerance and innovative human rights policies of Cyrus the Great's Persian Empire, delved into the hidden, undeciphered histories of Kush.
We saw the rise and often violent fall of Greek city-states, the unprecedented global reach of Alexander the Great, witnessed China's tumultuous unification under Qin Shi Huang, the profound transformation of Emperor Ashoka into a pacifist saint,
and the dramatic evolution of Rome from a republic to a vast, sprawling empire. We looked at the profound irony of Christianity's rise within the empire that persecuted it, navigated China's fragmented Six Dynasties period, challenged the common notion of Roman peace,
marveled at the literary sophistication of Gupta India, the mysterious golden age of the Mayans, the profound global shift brought by the rise of Islam.
And we closed our journey with the Sassanids' unprecedented humiliation of Rome, Japan's unique blending of traditions, the terrifying Viking conquest, the symbolic unifying power of Charlemagne,
the enduring schism in Christianity, the horrors of the Crusades and Spanish Inquisition, the brilliant intellectual center of the Caliphate of Cordoba, the enduring mystery of Great Zimbabwe, and the unparalleled conquests of Genghis Khan and the Mongols. Phew.
Each of these civilizations, with their unique innovations, their complex conflicts, their distinct cultural achievements, they laid the profound groundwork for everything that followed in human history.
History, as we've seen today, isn't just a disconnected collection of facts. It's a rich, interconnected series of stories, full of surprises, paradoxes, and enduring mysteries that continue to shape the very fabric of our modern world.
And as we reflect on this incredible sweep of human history, it leaves us with a provocative thought: the remarkable, often cyclical nature of power, peace, and human endeavor. Despite vast differences in technology, belief systems, social structures across these millennia,
humanity's fundamental drives to build, to conquer, to understand, to connect have remained remarkably constant, haven't they?
They really have. And then there are the unsolvable mysteries. We touched upon the undeciphered Olmec language, the reasons behind Great Zimbabwe's lack of written records despite its wealth, why Diodorus Siculus knew so much about Ethiopia's origins.
These enduring enigmas invite us to embrace the limits of our current knowledge, to acknowledge that even in this hyper-connected age of information, some secrets of our shared human story may forever remain hidden, obscured by that impenetrable curtain of time.
It really prompts us to ask ourselves, doesn't it? What future mysteries are we creating right now through our actions, our innovations, our silences, mysteries for generations to come that they will struggle to unravel and understand?